We would deploy. We deployed to go train with our brother unit over in Batols in Germany. But you know, the time we're deploying and actually training, our home base was in England,
Huh.
RAF Skulltop, the Royal Air Force Base. And we would meet up with the Special Air Services guys there and train with them. We'd go
Huh.
over to Belgium and train with their special forces, right?
Uh-huh.
And then we would have all kinds of chicanery because some of the guys would hire themselves out and go up to Northern Ireland to be something else, right? But they get paid a lot of money, right? I didn't bother with that. I was busy checking out London,
Huh.
and let me tell you, I was just going rampant all over the place, meeting people, and I realized I said, wait a second, this many Jamaicans are here and they're settled, and you know this is fantastic.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was scouting out for future if I wanted to come back over,
Uh-huh.
right? But when I went back over, the man they make sure I didn't go to England. They made sure I went to Germany. I mean, you know, so that's the first part of my career at Fort Devens. All right, then we go into overseas for training and come back. Right?
What was it? What was the Jamaican community like in England at that time?
Brixton, I was in Brixton,
Uh-huh.
and I can tell you that the Jamaican community seemed to me to be very, put it this way, the complaints were these guys had every opportunity. I had a at the time I was married, but eventually my brother-in-law found a work in that same community,
Mhm.
and they offer training, whether it's mechanical engineering training, whether it was uh, computer was not around then, but drawing, drafting, they had all kinds of training, Trevor. And these
Mhm.
boys didn't want that. These boys were busy selling dope.
Oh boy.
They were busy doing everything that they were
Should
being
not.
picked out, and they were on top of them. And I'm saying, wow, you know, if our guys in New York had exposure to these opportunities,
Mm.
everybody would be some kind of tradesman.
Yes.
And it was at that point I had to make my decision, because if I had left the service overseas, or if I had left the service at any other point, I knew how to make the easy money.
Right.
But I didn't want that.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't in my system to go in that direction.
Uh-huh.
It's for some people, but it wasn't for me, right?
Okay.
I wanted to do it the right way, and I wanted to achieve, right? So when I finally transferred from the 10th Special Forces in Fort Devens, Massachusetts, I transferred down to Panama to the Security Assistance Force, which is third of the 7th Special Forces at the time. And that's the unit that had gone out and captured Che Guevara in Bolivia,
Uh-huh.
right? And that's the unit that was coming to Jamaica and training the police at Tottenham Park,
Uh-huh.
right? The special weapons and tactics, right? I was a member at the time of the 550th Military Police Detachment, which is a part of the Security Assistance Force, right? And if you can imagine, the force consisted of military police. It it consisted of the PSYOP psychological battalion,
Mhm.
right? It consisted of the engineering battalion. It consisted of intelligence battalion as well.
Let me get this straight. And we are talking about a US unit now.
Yeah,
Okay. A
U.S.
US
unit
unit,
in Panama.
a US unit
Yeah,
in England.
yeah, in England like that, and one now I went from the one that went to England to the one that was in Panama.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And at the time, of course, we had the responsibility for counterinsurgency down in Latin America, South America in particular, right? You had the Shining Pot guerrillas, and you had all kind of guerrilla movement down there. And governments were being overthrown. But worse yet, Trevor, the operations against Michael Manley, a lot of it originated out of that zone. Right? The dope being run in and through the Panama Canal, where they came out of Jamaica. Let me put it this way. I met a lot of Jamaicans over in England. Now I was meeting a ton of Jamaicans in Panama. Right? And all of them were involved in one way or another in the dope business.
So they were connected.
They were connected.
Okay.
Right? But they weren't connected one to another. They were connected through the middle people that were US people and British people. Right? Make no mistake. They were being controlled. A friend of mine who was in Nicaragua, man tell me one day, oh, no, they come to me one day and they said, hey, we need some people to go down to Jamaica. Are you interested? At the time, the wife was pregnant. So the answer was no, I'm not interested. Now, if I was being ordered to do something,
right,
is one thing. But for me to volunteer, no, it's not on my mind. I really can't do it, right? Because I was the one taking her. She didn't have a driver's license for Panama, and I was taking her back and forth to her prenatal appointments and stuff.
Okay.
So when I was there, and I met a lot of the guys who were actually operating the dope business. I live off the base. I live downtown in Cologne. And, we would cook up some food on a weekend. And all them guys show up at the apartment. Right? But we were having fun as Jamaicans.
Right.
And these guys spoke openly and freely in front of me. Right? So it's not like I wasn't hearing what was going on. I knew what was going on. Right? And because where I was, we had the ability to look things up as well. I could look up people and look things up and satisfy my inquisitive side, right? But at the same time, when I heard that this was US run, I mean, all this stuff came out eventually, and CIA has published a lot of stuff. A lot of the US run stuff. I get an offer to drive a school bus up and down the Inter-American Highway. Drive dope, park the bus at the customs station in Brownsville, Texas. I fly home, enjoy a week off, and fly back to Panama. I'm just telling you how things were then.
Yes.
As a Jamaican, the offers that was coming to me, because they knew I was trained and I had talent for certain things, and I could handle myself, right? I used to box. I used to practice judo, and pretty much, you get the feeling of invincibility.
Right.
In other words, I was confident with the training I had, but I just didn't get the feeling to do all these things that I saw everybody else doing.
Okay.
It was just not in my nature.
Mm.
right? And I think about some of the things my father used to teach me, right? About integrity and values and stuff
Right.
like that, right? So I just couldn't turn like that. But a
Yeah,
lot of Jamaicans did turn.
the Bible say, you know, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it.
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I can relate to that very much.
So when time came for my 18 months to be up, it was time also to get my wife her visa.
Mm,
And we processed the visa right in Panama. She
mm,
didn't have to go back to Jamaica.
uh,
And we came back to the US. By then, my first daughter was born. And matter of fact, her mom had joined us from Jamaica in Panama.
mm,
And she was helping to take care of the baby. And my wife was working down at the YMCA downtown
uh,
Cologne. So we enjoyed our time there, right? We could shop for baby food and baby pampers and all them things. We could spend trouble like $50 and it would last us the whole month, the food and the
mm,
pampers and everything,
mm,
right? So by the time we were finished with that assignment, we were coming back to the US, to
mm.
Georgia, Fort McPherson in Atlanta. And
Okay.
this was a four-star command, forces command that I was being assigned to. Again, based on the no, first they wanted me to go to the Pentagon. Again, when you in the high percentage, the top 5% of your job, and I'm saying, and I had the security clearance. Let's say you going to the Pentagon. I said, whoa, wait a second. Everybody advised me how expensive it is there
Mm-hmm.
in DC at the time.
I visibility, but no money.
I have visibility but no money. And I said to myself, you know what? I can't deal with that. And so the alternate assignment was Forces Command in Atlanta.
Uh-huh.
So that's the one I picked. And that's when we went through a lot of financial hardships because I had no idea. I did not count on the cost of living in Atlanta
Mm-hmm.
in 1975 when we came back in October. It tripled everything we were paying for in Panama, now
Triple.
tripled in pricing,
Mm.
right? And it was just something where we had to radically cut back, and my wife had to go to work.
Hold on, hold on. Did it also triple in the commissaries?
Yes, yes. The commissary put it this way: something like a gallon of milk that may pay 60 cents for in Panama.
Mm.
We're now paying like $1.50
Wow.
in Atlanta. Everything that we were paying, put it in Panama, we were getting the best from Panama, and we we're getting the best from the US.
Mm-hmm.
So when you come back to the US, you no longer had Panama to fall back on.
Aye.
Yeah, we could go to the farmers market in Panama and buy things dirt cheap,
Mm-hmm.
cents, right? Right? Because Panamanians adopted the US dollar,
Uh-huh.
right? Um, it was crazy. So the wife was forced to go to work just so we could make a
Make
living.
make ends meet.
We
Yeah.
lived out on Camp Creek Parkway in an apartment complex out there. And
Mm-hmm.
that and driving into work, the gas was a lot more expensive. I think I was
Mm-hmm.
paying about something like 30 something cents a gallon for gas.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You
There's
come up,
thir-
there's
30,
80,
37 30 something cents. Very expensive. Go on.
yes. You come up to Atlanta, Georgia, and I think it was like 80 odd cents. I'm
Oh.
saying, oh my God, I'm gonna go broke at this rate, you know. But by the time I was a fast tracker, they say I was getting my promotions ahead in
Uh-huh.
what they call the secondary zone,
Mm.
right? Um, So we spent roughly from that October 75 to this November 76, a little over a year in Panama. I'm sorry, in Atlanta. Matter of fact, I was playing for a team called Umoja, which had won the soccer championship in Atlanta. I played soccer with the School of the Americas guys, the ones from El Salvador, the one from Guatemala, all them people I was playing with. And you know, that's the part that really relaxed me because I was playing with different discipline groups in Panama, and now I was here with the African group, the Ghanaians, right? Those guys were so good that Bill Russell came, gave the team team manager $45,000, telling make sure everybody have U.S. passports, and was going to register us in the National Soccer League.
Okay.
The guy took the money and went back to Ghana, and we were never registered. I'm telling you, man. So here we are now. Bill Russell, mad as hell, disowned us, right? And those of us who thought we could get to play in a professional league, that wasn't going to happen.
Okay.
Right? The Loggies were in Atlanta at the time. Henry Loggy, and his younger brother. I think Henry might have passed on by now. But and Richard.
Oh, my Lark is still down in Atlanta, man.
He's still there?
Still into soccer.
Wow. Yeah.
He's coaching the team now.
Coaching the team. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you see him tell him Herb Nelson say hi because he should remember me even from Jamaica, right? When I was playing for Golden Aces and he was playing for Santos, right? So I left Atlanta, came up to New York in December of 76. And I was assigned to Fort Hamilton. They further assigned me out to Queens, New York.
Okay.
Up on Merrick Boulevard and 232nd Street. That recruiting station. It's called Elmont today, but back then it's Laurelton, Queens.
Right.
Right? And I got indoctrinated there. You know, my area was full of Jamaicans, Haitians, right? In no time at all, I didn't see out there where everybody was fighting over the spoils. I went and concentrated on the high schools, Springfield, Andrew Jackson, and then the colleges. What was it? York College up there?
York College, yeah. York College.
Yeah, York and any other college that I could get people out of. So the first year I was there, they voted me in as a top quality recruiter. I was bringing in quality people from various places.
Unspoiled.
Unspoiled. It wasn't a low-hanging fruit because as New York, everybody has something.
Yeah.
You either was jumping the turnstile, you were hopping the back of the bus, you were all kind of charges was hitting them young kids.
Running dollar cab.
Running dollar cab, yeah. When I remember some of the apartment buildings that we had to go into, you get in the apartment building, you're going up the stairs, and the place pitch black. And there are people on the stairs. And when they saw the uniform, they said, "Oh, Sergeant, hey, are you?" Right? You know, and then they tell me people would do strange things like come to the recruiting station and try and give me something. I said, where you get this from? Oh, me get it from J.C. Penney. Let me say you have the receipt for it.
Yeah, did you pay for it?
Yeah, no man, don't worry about it. Right? This is the kind of area I was in. You know, some guys were like that, but some guys were straight. Something
Mm,
else that used to get me, get my attention. I had all these kids that I recruited,
mhm,
and we had to go get their birth certificate
mhm,
or get their birth verified. We go downtown to Manhattan to the birth verification office for New York,
mhm,
and the woman would say to me, "Oh, I don't have his paperwork here. His paperwork is upstairs."
mhm.
And right away, the kid is standing next to me, and this is where I learned my lesson. Don't ever take your applicant with you.
Yeah, kids on a bolt.
The kid said, "What's upstairs?" And the woman automatically blurt out, "Oh, that's where the adoption section is." The kid said, "I'm adopted?" And I realized, man, I got problems. This kid don't know he's adopted. I can tell you within a day, the parents mad as hell,
Exposing things.
exposing things. And I had to go apologize. I mean, I had to eat my humble pie and go up there and say, "Ma'am, sir, I apologize. I'm so sorry. I had no idea," right? Because it was on them to tell this kid who he was, right?
Non-disclosable agreement, okay? NDA.
There you go, NDA, right? Fall in my lap. I got to do the dirty work, right? But we did background checks. We did all kinds of things. We run into other guys that was doing investigation and people who were in the army who
Mm,
came to us and asked our advice on certain things. These were military intelligence guys doing the
uh-huh,
background investigations. And so, you got to understand the system, good or bad. We have to deal with it right there and then,
uh-huh,
right? And so the other part of me says, okay, you're in a Caribbean community, Jamaican community. Who around here represents what? How do they do community building? I was doing my share by coaching football. I
uh-huh.
went over to Springfield High School, played with the Real Carib team. Mikey Barnes was over there. I
Okay.
used, I used to talk to Mikey Barnes up at Andrew Jackson.
Mike is in Florida now.
He's in Florida now. That's right.
Yeah, yeah. Still
Mommy
into
and
soccer. Still into soccer. Still into soccer.
still into soccer. Yeah. And of course, Mia Macam, who was a coach, Lloydie Walker.
Mhm.
Lloydie Walker and myself went to Alpha Primary School and then Junior School. I
Okay.
used to keep goal for Alpha, and guess who was on my team? Macam, Errol Barrett, um, Alan Skill Cole,
I was about to say, Robbie,
Robbie, Lennox Robbins. Yes.
because Robbie said he was the one who was always setting up a land skill call.
Yeah. Yeah. And I couldn't get a chance to play, right? So I had to go in the goal,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And let
You
me
know,
tell you, I am there diving on asphalt and all kind of things, chipping up my hands and stuff, right? But I say, yeah, Herbie, good save.
and nobody wants to keep your goal those days.
Nobody want to keep no goal but then we control the game. Every game, every school we play against, we control everything, right? I'm in there in the goal in the back, and they're up front scoring a bunch of goals. There would be teams 10, 12, 15, all kind of score, lopsided,
Mm,
right?
mm,
But when I left New York, I got that sense of community.